Good afternoon. I'm Monisa Cline here at the GBTA broadcast studio. And joining me for this final session is Mark Hollyhead, who is the president of Egencia. Mark, welcome.
Thank you.
I understand you came in from Seattle.
I did, yes. Got here sometime earlier this week, and here we are in a large building doing our thing.
Hopefully uneventful travel experience.
Without no disruption,
Perfect.
Seamless trip from the airport, checked into the hotel quickly. So a trip like no other.
Well, as former airline people, that is music to our ears, right?
Indeed it is, indeed it is.
So talk about disruption. I know that we've been chatting about that. Since the pandemic, how have business travelers' attitudes on trip disruption changed? What have you learned?
Yeah, I think, well, look, the first thing is we are hungry for face-to-face travel again. That's I think, our main message. If we think back 18 months ago or a year ago, where we were all hoping, we've certainly seen that recovery come forward. So 95% of people are celebrating the fact that we can get back together again and see the true value of face-to-face.
That's just like being here at convention, right?
It is. It's such a great example of the value of many people coming together and those official and unofficial conversations taking place. But the second part of it is we're also seeing in a survey we've just done that nearly 3/4 of the people who've travelled have now started to experience disruption or can report of seeing some level of disruption. And that's a concerning sign, except when you get to the third part, which is there's sort of 50% of people go, yeah, that's normal now. And so are we building this into our psyche that as we go on a trip or if we're in trip, we expect some form of disruption or we expect changes and our very being is coming to terms with what this really means to go and undertake the business we want to do. We hope it all gets better, but certainly the survey is yielding a high appetite, but also an expectation that there's going to be disruption built into my trip.
And then you start planning that way, right?
Yeah,
right, it affects your plans.
The way you start thinking about it. And let's hope it also translates into how we all treat each other, because I think part of the tailwind of the travel industry is we all collaborate to make this process work as seamlessly as possible. And one thing we can do for each other is treat each other with respect and treat each other as we want to be treated ourselves, even when things are going wrong.
Right, interesting. So what are the top 3 tech trends business travelers expect when managing their travel disruptions?
Yeah, I think there's 3 I've thought about and consolidating into. I think people want to make sure that they've got, if things are going to be expected to go wrong, and let's hope they don't, then I want to have hands-on data that's going to be able to make sure that I can manage that real time. So I want to see that information. What is going on? Make sure I'm the most informed person in the airport or at the hotel or in my car. But also want to know that I've got the tools to be able to do something about that. Either is the parties in the travel industry working for me to predict that it will be my best interest to try and look for changes or look for alternatives. So the first one is real-time information. The second one is having the tools available to me, but also the comfort and confidence, the third one, that if things are going wrong and I can't help myself and I'm using all of my ingenuity, that I can go to a personal level of somebody who's going to solve my problems. And I think the combination of those 3 things equal greater traveler confidence going forward.
Confidence, which is so important. Okay, good to know. Interesting. Which technology are business travelers using the most to help solve trip disruption and why? So what are they using the most?
Yeah, I think the things we're seeing today are a whole host of things, from people want things built into their own workflow. I think we're validating the role of the travel management company more and more, that having one organization that's thinking about what I'm doing knows that they're going to be taken care of, whatever the requirements are. But we're seeing these trends of I want the real-time information, I do want access to chat, I want to use the tools that I want to use, whether that's WhatsApp or Slack or any of the other social media channels. I want to interact using the channels that I want to have. And I think it's a real problem that we want to solve and continually solve as we understand what the issues are on the road. At GBT, for example, this week we've released a product around if you have an issue, proactively sending you alerts of alternatives that are going to solve for the issues you're currently facing. And I think those things where we're mapping the data and your profile to your current circumstances to allow you to move through quickly are going to be the things that TMCs are really going to have value in going forward.
Interesting. Oh, wow. So, Mark, I know you have been in back-to-back meetings all day, and you're running from here to there. I know they've got you running around. For the people that you're not able to see, are there any closing messages that you'd like to share with this audience?
Yeah, I'm just going to return to my top of the order. We are in a changing state, but it's a changing state that I think we're all loving relative to the last 2 years. And I think the patience that we can all bring to this industry at a time where we know our colleagues are going through tough days or tough hours in airports or tough planning cycles to actually get things back on track. We all have a role in making sure it's the most pleasurable experience we can have, whether it's somebody's buying travel, a TMC who's trying to help somebody, an airline trying to fly somebody and finding alternatives in the event that things go wrong. My message to everybody is let's try and make our industry work as best as possible so we can keep this evolution of this recovery keep on.
Be kind to each other and support each other.
Right?
Right?
Yeah, it's going to be a real
message.
human thing, I
Yeah.
think, to get us fully back on track where we want it to be, where we know there's so much value socially and economically to corporate travel.
And it's a great message.
I hope so. And it's it brings us all together. Look at us. We're all smiling again after 2 years.
Yep, I agree. Mark, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us at the broadcast studio and sharing your insight for Egencia.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Monisa Cline here at the GBTA broadcast studio.